Guys, welcome to this video. It's Stephen Howell here, and we're going to do something just a little bit different. So if you are interested in learning how to pull distress list of properties, if you are struggling or want to get better at comping properties, or maybe you don't even have MLS access and you're like, man, I feel like I'm missing out on that, I have something in store for you. There's a tool that I am actually about to start using in my business, and I want to bring my friend Burton on, who's gonna walk me through exactly how to use this tool. I've been hearing a lot of chatter about this tool, and I've been getting a lot of emails from subscribers, from students, and from other people in the industry, other big-time real estate investors out there talking about this tool. And I usually get these emails and kind of disregard them. I'm like, yeah, it's just another tool. I'm a big fan of building businesses lean without all the fancy bells and whistles. But after hearing this over and over and over, I'm like, okay, what is this thing? I started doing a little bit of research, and come to find out, I'm like, man, I think this really is the real deal and something that's going to benefit not only my own business, but my students, my one-on-one mentoring students, and my subscribers here on YouTube. So guys, welcome to the video. If you are new to my channel, definitely feel free to browse around some of the other content we have here. And I think you're gonna really like today's video. This is a little different, and rather than me telling you about something I've used in the past, I kind of want to bring you in on the journey with me here as I look into this tool. And this is not gonna be some big sales pitch or presentation or anything like that. It's just actually my friend Burton and I kind of discussing this tool and some of the benefits. And those of you who are interested, feel free to check it out and stuff. But Burton, my friend, are you there with me?
Hey, Steven, can you hear me? Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm here to pretty much help you understand the application, your students understand the application. A lot of people, both your students and I just want to know what we've done, what we're about. So I hope today we're able to show you what you can do with our product, the type of leads you can pull, the type of tools that we have to help you enhance your real estate business. And then, yeah, make sure to try the trial period after that. So with that said, I guess let's just dive to it. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, let's do it, man. So if you don't mind, I just got a couple of questions here. I got a little sticky note of a few questions here for you. So so you're with Propstream, right? So what is this Propstream tool, and what's it for?
So Propstream, we have been in business since 2005, and our main focus has always been to collect and amass as much data as we can for real estate investors. So for the last 14 years, we've connected a huge network of MLS listings, or essentially boards, MLS boards, county records, mortgage information, title records. And so the idea here is that we have now over 190 million property records in our system, and our students, or your students and users, our users, will have access to 11 listing types that they can go through. So whether you're driving for dollars, looking for a specific property address, or you need to go through all the liens in the area, we're going to have that for you. So that's what we've done. So again, we're just like anybody else. So you can go out there and collect that data and then, bring it home and then, organize it in the way that you want. That's what we've done for you. We went out there, talked to agents, talked to brokers, talked to the county, mortgage companies, title companies, brought that data into our server, and then organized it in the sense that you're going to be able to layer your searches, and not only layer your searches, but when you finally get your results, you'll be able to click on them and then see all that data, essentially get a story. A story will unfold on what's happening with that specific property.
Got it, man. So for you guys paying attention to this, the thing that caught my attention about this tool, right, is part of this business in real estate and wholesaling, it's getting the big piece of it is getting an amazing deal. So getting deals with distress lists and having the right data. And then on the back end, it's selling those deals. It's dispositions. So it's acquisitions on the front, dispositions on the back, and selling those deals. So getting various distress lists and having the ability to layer those. And then on the back end, being able to see what's on the MLS plus additional info and accurately comp that information. That's some of the chatter, Burton, that I've been hearing about, man. And I'm excited to kind of see what type of distress list, and how specifically, and a lot of my audience here, just to kind of give you an idea, Burton, is intermediate and new real estate investors and wholesalers, but I also actually have quite a few bigger investors following my channel, people who are already doing 6 figures a month and just want to gain some extra insight, landlords, rehabbers, and real estate agents. But the primary focus is people who are in wholesaling. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the audience that's probably watching this. But yeah, man, I'll turn it over to you. I'm excited to check this thing out.
Absolutely. Well, let's get started. So let me start sharing my screen, and that way you guys can see our product firsthand. So this is it. When you log in, your playground is the United States. Again, we're a nationwide data provider, so please enjoy that. So hang on just a split second here. Let me just get this video a little bit down to the left for us. And yeah, so when you first log in, you're going to have the ability to search anywhere in the United States. And the type of searches that you can perform are a county level search. So we can go to example, Maricopa County in Arizona. Even though I'm in Southern California, I can search an entirely different county in an entirely different state. So for any virtual wholesalers that are in your audience, this is a great platform for them. So you can search a county, you can search a city. In this case, we can go to like Miami, Florida. You can search a zip code. As a matter of fact, you can search up to 5 zip codes if you like. So if you're just not looking for the entire city, but a little section of that city, go ahead and type in the zip code. And the last 2 searches that you can perform is the specific property search. So you can type in a specific property, and we're going to zoom in on that property, and you'll be able to click on it and get the details on that property. So again, if you're driving for dollars, that's really popular there. And then the last type of search that you can perform is one of my personal favorites. Great for running comps, but it's the draw search feature. So we have this tool here at the top left of the map, but you can zoom in and you can draw an area that you'd like results in only. If I can click on that, there we go. So I just want my leads in this area, and then in a matter of a few moments, we're going to be able to populate all the liens and all the pre-foreclosures and all the listing types that we have in that given area. So yeah, nothing new in terms of the type of searches you can do, but here's where it kind of has gotten us very popular. For example, when I search Maricopa County, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to zoom in on the area, and at the top, it's going to populate with all of the listing types that we have, at least 8 of the 11 that we have. So what it's telling me right now is, first, we're in Maricopa County. Now it's telling me that, hey, Mr. User, or in this case, person on the platform, you have over 250,000 MLS listings you now can go through without having a real estate license. So you have now access to all the active listings, pending, sold, failed, contingent. So whether you're trying to run comps like an agent would using real estate listing or MLS listings, or you're trying to look for failed listings, so you can provide that alternative solution, or you're looking for below market price, this would be your category. Now the next category to the right of that would be pre-foreclosure. So as I click on that box, the screen will flash, and now just my pre-foreclosures are shown here on the right-hand side and on the map. Now, to make your life easier, some states have all sorts of different types of pre-foreclosures. Some of them have auction. So to make your life a little bit easier, we separated the pre-foreclosures with auction into its own category. So you click on that box, here are all the properties with an auction. The next category is foreclosures, all your REO and bank-owned properties. The 5th category is one of my personal favorite categories, but the cash buyers list. So this is actually telling me all the properties in Maricopa County that were bought in cash, either by a corporation or an individual. And so it's a great way for me to kind of go through that and filter it, so I can find a buyer, corporate buyer that's buying a multifamily property, or a individual that's buying just east of a certain property I have on contract. So it's a really great list to start with in terms of finding a motivated buyer. The next category is liens. So these are all involuntary liens. So things like an HOA, a federal tax lien, or a property tax lien, or contractor's lien. This is a great way to find people that are just starting to get in financial trouble, or essentially you get a lien on your property because you're not paying for the service that was provided or your taxes. And so that lien doesn't get resolved, then it's going to end up causing a foreclosure on your property. So I love this list because it's like the analogy I can give is like if we're staring at a rainforest, right? Like there's the fire, and that's usually what I like to call like the pre-foreclosures and like foreclosures, because everyone loves that list. It's highly distressed.
Super
This
competitive though, right?
exactly, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this is where we can get the highest discount, but it's very competitive. But with like liens, this is what I like to call the smoke in the forest, right? So the fire hasn't ignited yet. Not too many people see the smoke, only a few of them. So we can go out there and kind of see what's happening. Maybe put it out before that it erupts into a fire and all the other investors are trying to put it out, right? So I love this category because again, it's like a early bird's notice that hey, these homeowners are starting to get in trouble a little bit. Okay. The next category is vacant. Now, this we get directly from the United States Postal Service. And the only thing I'm just going to explain about this list is just be careful. It is a challenge to some people only because you got to understand that the list comes from the Postal Service and their definition of vacant is a lot different than your definition of vacant. Your definition of vacant is an abandoned property, boarded up windows, the roof is falling apart. Their definition, the Postal Service definition of vacant, is someone not answering their mail for 3 weeks. And that's it. So whether it's a new house, an old house, it's falling apart or not falling apart, if that address is not answering the mail for 3 weeks, it's going to show up on this list. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is if I click on it, it's going to show properties that recently sold. In this case, properties that sold earlier this month. Why is that? Here's the answer to that. Property owner A sold the property to property owner B, but property owner A forgot to forward their mail. 3 weeks go by, property owner B, the person that just bought the house, his
Right.
property is now on the list. And so if you guys aren't paying attention to the last sale date, then you're going to start skip tracing a person you shouldn't be skip tracing, or sending postcards or calling a person that just bought a house. Obviously, they're not going to sell it to you.
Burton,
So
man, I got to jump in. What you just said is so powerful, and a trusted source kind of informed me of this a little while back, how things have changed. The rules have kind of changed with vacant. And there, I have to say, there's a lot of data providers out there that are pumping vacant leads that give people the impression of like, man, these are super, super hot leads. But that's not always the case. So I do have to say, man, I appreciate your transparency because like, that's something that people need to know, man. And not everybody says that. People are just like selling leads, selling lists. And so what I'm super interested about, and for those of you watching this, it's not just that we're going after the vacant ones because they may or may not be motivated, but it's when we start layering these liens and pre-foreclosures and high equity and some other cool stuff that Bert and I is going to show us here. That's the real power. But I got to just give you some props, Burton, because that's something a lot of data providers don't say, man.
absolutely, and I really appreciate that. Like I love the company here. Our management team is, we're the integrity in this building is just through the roof, and I like sharing that because we do get calls. People call in and they're like, "Hey, I just called an owner, and they just bought the house. What's going on?" And so we have to kind of clarify that. But I do want to share that with you guys because we're not in the business of giving you fake leads. I mean, we want to be again as transparent as possible. So when you're starting to use the platform, marketing costs money. Trust me, I know. Skip tracing costs money. Trust me, I know. So we don't want you to go through the same mistakes some of us have made. So thank you so much. It really means a lot. And actually, in just a few moments, when we start talking about the layering part, I'm going to use that category as an example on how to effectively filter it in our system. So thanks for bringing that
Awesome.
up.
Yeah,
And
man.
the next category is something that we've created on our own. This is a category called high equity. And what this is pretty much all the properties, in this case, Maricopa County, that have $100,000 in equity or 50% in equity or more. So great starting point. Again, little transparency here. What you do need to worry about here is that not just anybody with a lot of equity is going to sell you your property, right? I mean, think about it. If you own your own property and you have a lot of equity and I come knocking on your door and I'd say, hey, here's a cash offer for like, 70% less or 50% of your market value, you're probably just going to slam the door on me, right? So although this is a great starting point, as we talked about, you're going to want to add a layer to it because not just anybody's going to sell your property, but maybe someone in a high equity situation with a pre-foreclosure that's about to auction off their house in 3 weeks, that's a different story, right? So definitely want to add layers to this category. But this is, again, 100,000 or more in equity or 50% or more in equity. Now, I'm going to show you guys how we calculate that in just a few moments, but just wanted to explain that category. And then we do have 3 other categories that are fairly new. You can find them in the filter section, and that would be our free and clear, properties owned outright, no mortgages on there. Bankruptcy, these are properties with the bankruptcy recorded on there. And divorce, these are properties. This is fairly new, so these are properties that have a divorce recording on there. So that's what's going to happen. In this case, I search Maricopa County. Here are all my results. Boom. The other type of search that you can perform, just kind of go over it, is a specific property search. So I know that some of your viewers are like driving for dollars. So you can type in a specific property. We're going to zoom in on the area for you. So gray is the property. Blue are the neighboring records. So you can see the neighbors here. We can see the MLS around that property to kind of get an idea of what the comps are going to be. Pre-foreclosures to see the distress in the neighborhood, and foreclosure. But I think this is a very popular search I wanted to point out because, again, if you're driving for dollars or you see something while driving around and you're curious, capture that address, type it in. Here it is. You even can zoom in on the street and get you a street level view. Nothing new, but we do have this cool feature down here below where you can actually see yourself on the map and actually just start dragging yourself around the map. So rather than using those silly
Oh,
little
that's super
arrows,
slick. I
you
like it.
can
I like
click
it.
on the map for virtual driving for dollars, perhaps, and then you can just click back to your property, and there we go, right? So just wanted to show that, again, very popular. Although we have 11 categories that you can go through in terms of the list types that we have over 190 million records. So it doesn't have to be a property that's actually listed in any of our categories. Again, if you're driving for dollars and you see something odd on a property, type it in and we're going to give you the records for that. So that's again, one of the most popular searches we have. But now let's talk about like the bread and butter, what we've really been known for, and that's the filtering. So in today's example, I'm going to do 3 examples. I'm going to do vacant listings. So I'm going to show you guys how to effectively filter vacant listings. I'm going to show you guys how to build a distressed list. And in this example, as we talked about a little bit earlier, let's assume that pre-foreclosures are very competitive. So I'm going to show you guys a way to build a list of distressed homeowners that are not yet in pre-foreclosure. And then the last one, you guys better take your notepads out and get a pen and paper for this, because the last one, I'm going to show you guys how to actually build a cash buyers list that you're not going to find in any other platform out there. So take my word on that. So with that said, let's start with the first one, vacant listing. So I told you guys earlier that if I click on that, these are all properties that are not answering their mail, and obviously we can see properties that are recently sold. So how do we get rid of that? So we go to the filter here at the top, and in our filter, you're going to have over 50 different options to choose from. So beginning at the top with owner occupied, do you want the owner to occupy the property? Yes or no? Now, let me kind of explain the difference between the two, because some of you guys are like, well, where do I go? You can do both, but the way I've always looked at it is if I say yeah, then the owner is occupying that property, meaning I can go knock on the door and there's a high probability that they are there, right? When I say owner occupied, no, self-explanatory, they're not occupying that property. But what does that mean? That means that there's a probability that they own another property or they're somewhere else, meaning at the same time that these homeowners may have more options than a person that's living in the house not answering their mail. So I do want to specify that so you guys can take any angle there. You can do
Yes.
any. I like to start with owner occupied, yes, because again, I'm a very sociable person. I like to knock on doors, meet people face to face. So in this example, I'll be doing that. So now I get to choose what lists I want to filter through. In this case, I'm going to choose vacant, and now I can start working downwards. So beginning with property characteristics, I can say, find me a vacant single family property and a multifamily, so we can stack those two together. Our results will show both. We can also apply a year built, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot square foot, and features. So for example, my buyers like properties built on or before 1990. I can put the bedrooms and bathrooms as well if I'd like. And that's property characteristics. Once we're done with that, we now go to the next category, which is MLS status. So here we're taking the vacant listing type and cross-referencing it. So we're taking this 3,800 listings and then we're going to cross-reference it with a quarter million MLS listings. And what I mean by that is we can do things like find me a property that's not answering their mail that recently failed on the market. And I can say that it was listed at the beginning of the year. It lasted on the market for 90 days, so the owner had to wait 3 months just to find out that it wasn't going to sell. So again, we're just adding layers of distress depending on what angle that you see fit for your business. So again, you can choose any status type, or for most of us out there, we're just going to say on market, no, right? We want a property not answering their mail, single family, multifamily, that's not on the market, doesn't have a contract signed with the broker. The next category is foreclosures. So now we're going to add that extra, the high layer of distress, and say, hey, properties that are not answering their mail that also have a pre-foreclosure recording. Or, as we mentioned earlier, if it's very competitive in your market, we can say for properties that don't have a pre-foreclosure recording just yet, has a certain document type to it, it was listed, or the recording of that pre-foreclosure was in the last 30 days or so, here's the default amount I'm looking for, or I want that pre-foreclosure to be auctioned off in about a month, giving me about a month to work with the homeowner. So lots of layers that you can add. The next category is the most important category when you're dealing with vacant, and that's the ownership info. So as I mentioned, vacant, people not answering their mail for 3 weeks or more. Sometimes you're going to encounter people that recently bought their property. For example, this one was bought on July 1st. That was literally 2-3 weeks ago. So how do I get rid of that? I'm going to say, hey, I'm looking for an owner that has lived in their house for a minimum 5 years. So now I'm telling the system, hey, find me someone that has lived in their house for 5 years and now is not answering their mail. Something is going on, right? So that's the most effective way to filter not just our vacant listings, but anybody else's vacant listing. So you guys got to make sure, pay attention to that last sale date, and then we'll be able to effectively build you a better list than finding properties that recently sold, calling them or sending a postcard just for them to say, what the heck are you calling me for? And then clicking on us or giving us an angry voicemail or something like that. So I wanted to show you guys that. The rest is just adding more layers. So we can add the lien recording, we can add a value to the property or an income value to the property. And last but not least, because most of us are wholesalers, we're going to need to add an equity amount, right? So we can put a dollar amount of equity, or we can say, hey, after all of this information, make sure the property has at least 70% in equity. And now I can hit apply. And guys, look what we just did. We went from 38,000 recordings down to 877 that are single family, multifamily, built in 1990 or before. They're off market, not in pre-foreclosure yet, and they've been living in their house for 5 years or more, and now they're not answering their mail. So something is definitely going on. And now we can click on the property. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where like the gold is. We give you, every property has this layout. And what this is going to tell you is everything that we have from all of our 11 sources working together as one. So here we're able to see the property characteristics, the image of the property. So you can actually click on that. If we have photos from the MLS, you're going to be able to see those photos. If we have bird's eye view, you're going to see it. If we have street view, we're going to zoom in onto the property and show it to you as well. So you're going to get a lot of information in terms of the visual of the property, characteristics. We're going to tell you the estimated value. So this is what we believe the ARV of the property is in today's market. This is based on our algorithm. Is it on market? In this case, it's off. As we specified, we want it off market. Is it distressed? Yes or no? In this case, no, because we wanted to make sure it wasn't in pre-foreclosure. And then are there any involuntary liens? Like, does this person have a tax lien on the property, an HOA lien? In this case, no. So all we need to worry about is either the mortgage balance or no other liens, right? So is it owned by a corporation? In this case, an individual. Occupancy vacant as we specified, and then property type. So property characteristics, again, our estimated value, what the property last sold for, in this case 5 years ago, and then we give you comps. We're just telling you what the comps are in the neighborhood. We found 17 that are very similar. Here's the average value and the average days on market. And then last but not least, my personal favorite box is the opportunity. So we're just telling you, hey, this property has approximately $127,000 in equity. It will rent out on average for about $1,300. The mortgage balance is zero and the lien amount is zero. Now, how do we know that? Well, all of this information, guys, is scattered down below. So we now know the owner's name. We know if there's a different mailing address. We have property characteristics, site information, which includes the APN. We have last sell information, and then we even have the site information down below, which will provide you like the legal description and so forth. But how do we know that this person has no mortgage balance? Because one of our records show us that he bought it in cash, right? When you buy something in cash, you own the property outright. So it's just been growing since 2014. And right now, that current price point is about $127,000. But
man, I gotta jump in. I'm like salivating at the mouth over here, man. This is like incredible, because prior to this, like I'm having to go to the county auditor site, cross-reference a bunch of different things. And then when I'm working with my one-on-one mentoring students, like my county auditor site honestly is like pretty good. It's not that bad, but there's another county in my city where it's awful. And then working with students, sometimes they'll have a county where their site is so darn clunky. So like, you touched on so many things, man. Like just a few minutes ago, you were talking about some of the other levels of distress, like bankruptcy and divorce. I just got done buying a bunch of data from a data provider for bankruptcy, for divorce, for a bunch of other things. And so one of the things that people kept telling me about this, system, and why I wanted to, come on this was like, man, instead of going to 11 different websites out there, and this is not some like janky, like where we're getting this old data or something, at least so I've been told. And they're like, check this thing out, because like you're able to go and get it from one place. And I'm starting to see that like, wow, like this stuff is all in one location. So, and I'm just like remembering all these years going to the auditor site and checking these different properties, man, and the value, and trying to look up if there was a mortgage and the tax information and the last sale date. So I don't know, man. I just had to say that.
No, and I appreciate it. Again, that's 14 years of trials and tribulations. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, and again, it's investor built for investors. I mean, we know what you guys are looking for, and again, in just a few moments, we're able to immediately know that we don't have to pay a mortgage balance. So our offer now can literally be at 10,000 or up to 100,000, depending on how much our assignment fee or what the return on investment is that we're aiming for. But as I mentioned, I mean, that's our assumption of what the value is, and then we give you comps. But if you're like me, you don't trust technology, right? Because we've watched enough Terminator movies to realize like, hey, don't follow computers. So you can just run your own comps from 3 different sources. So when you go to the comparables and nearby listings, the first source that you have is county records. So you can say, you know what? I actually don't want to go back a year. I want to only go back 6 months. And I'm looking for a 2-bedroom property, 1-bathroom property. And now we've isolated your results. Now, another thing to note, and I personally like this because our system, when we show you comps, we're going to show you the cash sale comps too. So like number 4 and number 9 were cash sale comps. Now, it's a good and bad thing. It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword because it's bad for comps, right? Usually they're going to be a lower price, right? 112, 117. So I definitely want to deselect those. But it's a good thing because those are buyers, those are investors. So I'm definitely going to want to pay attention to those guys.
Burton just said a huge thing there, and I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to keep cutting in, but
no worries.
I'm excited about this. So guys, the ones in green there, this is a huge secret. Not a lot of people know this, but like the ones in green, a lot of times what those numbers indicate are what a cash buyer is willing to pay, because those are true, legitimate cash sales. So when you're thinking of like, oh my goodness, like what could I mark this deal up to? Like in this example, and again, this is just an example here, like maybe you could mark your deal up to 105. So you're still coming under these 2 cash sales. And let's say if you get this deal for 80K, that's a 25K spread. So that is so cool that you guys like indicated with a color coding there, like That blows me away, man. I
And you
love it.
notice how we made it green too? So it's like, hey, that's money.
Cash, yeah.
Love it. And then not only do you get to isolate the buyers, but once you have your comps settled, we're going to actually tell you the new average sell price. So actually, the average sell price is a little bit higher. Days on market is it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's great for me to know because hey, if it's going to last, 14 days longer, then I need to worry about 2 more weeks of expenses. But ultimately, once you have your comps, to make your life easier, just click on View Report and we're going to give you a CMA report or comparable properties report, and that looks just like this. So now we can show our buyers their low, their high, their average. Here's the property in question, and here are the comps that we have, in this case, all 7 comps. So again, we're just letting the buyers know, hey, we've done the homework. Depending on how much you want to flip that property for, here are
Yeah.
the comps. Whether you put a lot in invest or a rehab or a little in rehab, this is where your price range would be. So we go from there. But that's just the first type of comps you can run. The next one is neighboring
And that's
records.
coming right from the county, right, Burton? That information
Correct.
showed was right from the county. And then another quick little point, guys, is the average days on market. Like, so if you are watching this video and you don't have your real estate license and you're kind of intimidated of like, how can I like network with a realtor and like maybe they're not going to want to give me MLS access, like. One powerful thing, like in that example, the average days on market is 90 days on market. So if you're speaking with a motivated seller who is, behind on their taxes, or they've kind of like, because guys, remember, it's not about the house. It's about the problems they're going through, the pain points that they're going through. And they've expressed to you that they got to move on this. They got to get out of this. They're done with the stress. And you can bring them some data to justify your offer and say, Miss Jones, like, the average days on market, I'm looking at Desert Cove Avenue, I'm looking at Cortez, I'm looking at 15th Avenue, is 90 days. Like, so what happens, like, as we've talked about, Miss Jones, the house, we're going to put a good amount of work into this house. Like, what happens if you don't sell this for another 90 days or 6 months, or you have to deal with, dozens of, showings and the whole listing thing. And so it's a way for you guys to position the solution that you have and educate the sellers about their options. And if you don't have your real estate license, how are you going to know like the average days on market? So that's another little subtle point that I think is going to be really valuable for those of you watching this video who don't have your license. Like, it's a subtle thing, but you can use it in your, conversations with sellers. But anyway,
Absolutely. No. And I love that you said that because, again, in just a few moments, we gave you enough information to really help you out with that negotiation part, right? If you didn't know that, that homeowner would have most likely leaned towards talking to an agent and dealing with that agent. And remember, agents are your competitors. I mean, they're not bad. They're good to have on your team. But the reality is we're all trying to get that contract. And so if you didn't know that information, like, hey, if you did, call an agent, it's going to take about 3 months to sell. And then what happens if it doesn't sell in 3 months? Where are you at that point? And so I love that you said that because, again, just the fact that we know that, that is a conversation that we can use. That is a tool that we can use to help motivate that homeowner to say, hey, you know what? Maybe listing it is not a great idea because I don't have the luxury to wait 3 months to find out whether it's going to sell or not. I will take your cash offer. And not only will I take your cash offer, but now I see why it's a lot lower because you're risking it, right? I mean, you're buying it from me and then you're going to have to list it. And what if you list it for 90 days and it doesn't sell, right? And that's, again, that information was just right there. And I like how you went from that one piece of information and just painted that huge picture and how it could be a very great negotiation piece or tool for that aspect. So thanks for bringing that up. And don't ever worry about interrupting me because everything, I mean, you're the expert. I'm just the data guy. And so if you see those key things that need to be mentioned, make sure you mention it because I want to make sure your students see why we've done that. As I mentioned, investor build. So Stephen is like one of those guys that have given us those ideas that we need to have. And all this, everything that we have here is strategic, right? It's all been thought about, and I'm sure you're going to find things that we could add more, so don't hesitate to let us know. But ultimately, that's the first, county records. Then you have neighboring records. So if you're dealing with a property built in like 1920, 1940, and no other property in the neighborhood looks like it or is built like it anymore, you have your 25 neighbors around the property, and now you can compare apples to apples. Like, here's one that sold last year in June for $188,000. Difference is it has 1 bedroom more. So what does it cost to build an extra bedroom, and what does that increase the market value for? Let's subtract that amount, right? So if it increases the value of a property $30,000, I subtract $30,000 from this price, and my property is around 150, just by knowing that information, right? I might need to call a contractor to get that increased value, or an appraiser to get what a bathroom would increase or bedroom would increase the value to. But once you know that information, your neighboring records can help you out. And then last, but certainly not the least, is the MLS listing. So now you have access to the most recent 150 MLS listings around the property, and you have the ability to filter it just like an agent would. So show me the listings in the last 90 days that are 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and I want to make sure that they're all sold. So in just a few moments, here are 34 properties that are around the property, that are around the subject property, that are 2 bedrooms or more, that have recently sold. Now, if you really want to get specific, you can just cap it out, say, just show me the 2 bedrooms only, and here are the 10. And now I have not only their listing price, but you can see their listing price. And here's the cool thing that I like, is you can actually click on the property, go to the details. We're going to actually open up a separate tab for you, and you're going to be able to click on the property, see what it was listed for, and see what it actually sold for. And sometimes we're going to get that information up. This is not a good example, but sometimes we're going to get that information before the county. So you might see that it sold here in May, but the county hasn't recorded anything yet. They still show the previous sale amount. That's why MLS has become very popular, not just because you're going to see recordings sometimes before the county, but in most cases, we might even have photos of the property that the MLS or the agent uploaded. So you'll be able to see exterior, interior. In this case, it looks like they weren't able to get inside the house. But you definitely want to be able to utilize that advantage by seeing the comps and then going to it. And again, sometimes you're going to see photos. So print it out, because now you're going to be able to show your buyers, hey, here are the listings around the property, and then here are the photos. So you get to see, you know, that person rehabbed it this way. So therefore, if you rehab it this way, you potentially could list it for the same price and get it sold for the same price as well. So that's our comp section, guys. Again, if you're like me, you're skeptic, don't want to let a system tell you, hey, the property is worth this much. Just go ahead and go to our comparables, and then you get to run your own comps. And every property has this layout. And then the next tabs we have, guys, are just tax information, mortgage information, transaction history, and then documents and reports. You can purchase the assessor's map and the document image scan. So that is what every property has. Anytime you build a list, your results will show up on the right-hand side, or if you click on any of our categories, those results will show up on the right-hand side. Then you can click on it, and all those details are there for you. So yeah, again, that's like 11 different sources working together on one page for you guys to watch and for you guys to view. And that's the first list I wanted to show you guys. And that's vacant, and that's just a few best practices on how to filter it. Just as a reminder, make sure you add years of ownership to get rid of those recently sold ones.
Right.
The next category, and I'll go through this one fairly quickly, but let's say pre-foreclosures are very competitive. So we're trying to find a distressed homeowner that's not in pre-foreclosure yet. And one of my favorite categories to find that situation in is either bankruptcy, divorce, or even liens. So let's use liens as an example. So pre-foreclosures are competitive, and we clearly don't want the property on the market. So I'm looking for a property that's either owner-occupied or not owner-occupied. Right? Let's say we're looking for an absentee owner property, right? So the property owner doesn't live there, but there's a lien on it, and now it's a headache for them. So they're most likely going to want to just let it go, right? So non-owner occupied, please filter the list type liens, and then again, top to bottom, single family, multifamily, 1990 or before, Mls status, I want it off market or perhaps failed. So this out-of-state owner or this owner not living in the property tried to list it, it failed, so their options are very limited now. But in this case,
Burton, that's like a 12th category. The fact that you can, like, that's absentees. Like, that's another layer of distress. A lot of people think, especially after like the new real estate seminar comes to town, they're like, I'm gonna mail postcards to absentee owners. that doesn't mean that they're motivated, right? So before you go out and spend $10,000 and mail out however many postcards to absentee owners, because the latest seminar said that, guys, like, this is where it's at, filtering with these levels of motivation. So instead of going after 16,000 or 30,000 leads, we can go after 200, 500, 800, and then we can cold call those. We can text blast those, or voicemail drop, or door knock, or whatever you want to do. So, man, this has me excited and fired up. And the other
that's correct. Yeah.
I wanted to mention, man, is like with this whole thing, never mind, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, and so now that we said off market or failed, the next category would be, again, pre-foreclosures, but it's competitive. So we're going to say none. Then we can go to ownership info, but we want to make sure there's some equity in the property. A little lag here. There. There's some equity in the property, so I'm going to do 5 years of ownership. And then I don't want to deal with corporations. I just want to talk to people that, you know, I can show some empathy towards and let them know, hey, I'm a real person on the other end. I'm here to help. So I'm going to separate and just look for individuals. And then how do I know that this person is going to go from lien to most likely pre-foreclosure? And that's here, guys, the lien, bankruptcy, and divorce status. So now that I'm looking for a lien, I'm looking for not just any lien, but I'm looking for a lien that's between $15,000 and $50,000, right? So this is a very high amount against the property owner. Obviously, if they don't pay off that lien, the probability of them losing their home increases. But they're not in pre-foreclosure yet. So maybe most of the investors that are waiting at the county's office for that pre-foreclosure recording, they haven't seen it yet. And we get to see, again, that smoke in the rainforest or in the forest before anybody else does. And then we can wrap it all up by going to the equity and saying, hey, just make sure that there's 50% or more in equity as well. So we went from finding properties that were not in the competitive category, pre-foreclosures, to also finding properties that weren't in a non-distressed categories, to finding that middle ground where, hey, these 173,000 or 173 results, these are people with a mortgage, with a lien. So this person, if we were to buy this property, we would need to pay off the mortgage, pay off the lien, which is about what, $112,000, but the property can comp at 316.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we give the owner 130, give them a little bit of cash, and then we can upsell that contract for 150, make our $20,000 assignment fee, and now our buyer can rehab it for 30,000, spend 180 out of pocket, and then flip it for 316. Our buyer is loving us, our seller is loving us, and we're going to now go to Vegas with $20,000 in our pocket, right? So this system is amazing.
Guys, you might want to, if you're in the Arizona market, you might want to contact this address right here with this size of a lien. That is like, chances are, man, that's the perfect example.
Absolutely. Right, and that's what you're able to do in just a matter of a few moments. And guess again, this is not in pre-foreclosure yet. So the stress is not up there yet. But again, that's a very high lien. If they don't pay it, inevitably going to happen. So that is how you can use our filter to find not just any type of motivation, but you can create your own layer of motivation. And then last, I did promise you guys, I'm going to show you guys how to find buyers that you're not going to find in any other platform. And I'm going to do it in Maricopa County because I've never been there. So might as well. We're already here. How do we do it? So we have, in this case, $250,000, almost $250,000 or more, cash bought records. These are all properties that were bought in cash either by a corporation or by an individual. So how do you filter it in a sense that you're going to find some really solid buyer? So in our method that you're not going to find anywhere, this is how I do it. After I search the area, I go to filter and I look for a non-owner occupied buyer. That's the most important part. Most investors don't occupy the property. They buy it, they rehab it, and then they'll rent it out or they'll flip it out or put it on Airbnb or whatever the case is. So that's the first priority is owner occupied, no, cash buyers. Second thing is apples to apples. So if you have a property that's a single family property on contract, then you're going to want to find a single family buyer, right? So make sure you apply that and any other characteristics to really narrow it down. But I'm also a firm believer that whether it's a single family buyer or a multifamily buyer, if the margins are right, they'll buy anything, right? So you don't have to get too specific if you don't want to, but if you do, you can. And then the The part where you're not going to find in any other platform is we can now go to ownership info and put a date range. So I'm going to put a beginning date and an end date. In this example, I'm looking for cash buyers between August 1st of last year to December of last year. So they bought it within that 4-month time frame. So let me repeat what I'm doing. A cash buyer that's not occupying the property. So a cash buyer bought a property not occupying it, and they bought it between August and December. Okay, that's the most important part. I'm putting a time frame. Now they rehabbed it and then they flipped it, right? That's what they normally do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the MLS status and say, make sure that that buyer listed it on or after January 1st of this year, and it's either active, pending, or sold. So let me repeat again. They bought it in August of last year, between August and December. So they bought it in cash between those 4 months. And then they rehabbed it. And then they listed it anytime after this new year. I'm going to hit apply. I have 113 solid buyers. And I'm going to show you why I'm
kidding me, man. That's incredible.
Right? And here, look, I'm going to blow your mind. And not only do I know that they're using the MLS to flip their property, but what I'm really paying attention to is the cash sale tab. So I know they're buying amount now. So this company has $720,000 in cash readily available anytime. They bought it in December. Here's the company name, Fern Holdings LLC.
And it has their address. Yes.
Bingo. It's their address. And I get to see the MLS details. Look what they're flipping it for. $1.6 million. This is not your typical, I just bought a property, I'm listing it for some X reason. No, these are investors, people. And not only do I know what their buying power is and what they're flipping it for, I can click on the photos and see the type of rehab that they normally perform, right? So now I know why it's worth $1.6 million because I have all the photos to justify the interior, exterior, and you name it. And not only that, but what I also like at the end of the day is I know their property characteristics. I know what this buyer is aiming for now.
This is gonna, like, man, I've been doing this since about 2009, and this is gonna change the way that it's done, Burton. Like, I'm pumped about this big time. And something that just came to mind, because like I said from the beginning of this video, guys, I wanted to kind of take you in on the journey. This is a tool that I've heard so much about. And I'm not a big believer in all the fancy, tools and technology and stuff. I want to get people moving, and I want to get them results, and I want to not have all the fancy bells and whistles. But this thing is the real deal. And so what I'm going to do, just kind of impromptu here, for those of you who take up this Propstream, and you, what am I trying to say here? For those of you who do the Propstream, who buy Propstream, basically, there's a 7-day trial. I'm going to hook you up with 2 bonuses to help with this. So those 113 buyers there that Burton just showed you exactly how to find, which is unbelievable. I'm going to give you 2 marketing pieces that I do with all of my deals. I've been doing this for a long time. They're very simple, but they work really well. And then I'm going to give you this as a free bonus for those who not only just do the trial, but who then go on to use Propstream for $97 a month. When you do the first purchase of $97, email me, and I'll put this in the link in the description below this YouTube video. Email me, and I'm going to hook you up with the 2 marketing pieces that I use in my own business and I share with my mentoring students, my one-on-one mentoring students, about how exactly to reach out to these 113 people. There's 2 pieces of information I send them. It's really slick. It's not what you would think. And then I have an 1.5-hour training that goes with it about how to talk to these people. Because let's be honest, like, having this information is one thing, and it's amazing. That's why I'm so freaking excited. But knowing what to do with it and how to reach out to these people in a cool way, that's a whole different game. So for those of you guys, like I said, who do pay the $97 a month for Propstream, which is insane, just email me, Steven at Steven Howell Mentoring, and I'll have that in the description, and I'll verify that you purchased it, and I'm going to hook you up with this bonus, just because I want to help you guys really utilize this tool. So anyways, Burton, back to what you're saying, man. I just wanted to interject that.
Absolutely. Well, that's pretty much it. And so just to kind of reiterate that filter, all I'm doing is just understanding an investor's behavior. And that investor's behavior is I'm going to buy it in cash first, and then I'm going to rehab it, and I'm going to flip it. So in our filter, we just need to specify that. They bought it within this time frame, and then they listed it after that time frame. And that, again, works in any market. So here's 113 buyers in Maricopa County. If I click on Miami, that same filter just found me 10 buyers. And so you can use this filter nationwide. And literally, you can spend about a few hours a day knowing that filter, and you've found yourself a buyer in all 50 states. And from there, you just need to find leads, and you're now a virtual wholesaling expert, guys. But again, that is our platform. And we were just scratching the surface. I won't drag you guys too much, but just to kind of go over some of the other features that we have. Once you build your results and you've analyzed the property, you've ran the comps, you can check them off, or the ones that you want. So you can deselect number one or whatever, but you can then add it to a list, create your marketing list. At that point, you guys, we're going to store it in your properties where you can click on your list and export it out of our system. So you can get a CSV file and take it elsewhere. Or if you guys are fairly new and you don't know where to go for marketing, you don't know where to go to get phone numbers and emails, we have all that here for you guys. So once you've built your list, we have a tool called skip tracing. This lets you take your list, and at a price, it's additional costs, 30 cents per address that gets results. You'll be able to get landlines, cell phones, and emails, and it's going to look just like this, guys. So here's what a list looks like with all their phone numbers and emails. So again, we went from building a list, analyzing it, and determining whether this is worth our time or not, to saving it, and now we have their phone numbers and emails. We can export that, and as Steven said, start cold calling them if we have the luxury to do that. Or if you don't have the luxury to do that, we have a campaign page. So you can take that group of people, create a campaign, which gives you a website. So this is a website that you can create. It says something like, hey, I buy houses in cash. We close in 30 days. A little bit more information about you, and you can fill out the application. So this is what your leads are going to see. When you establish a campaign, you get to create this website that they're going to see. If they go to it and they like it, they can fill out their name, email, and a message, and you're going to get an email saying, hey, John, Jane, they need your help. So not only do you get to create a website, but after creating the website, you'll be able to send postcards directly, and we have tons to choose from, and they're all templates. So it'll say things like house wanted. Not only will it say things like house wanted, but you can even preview it, and we're going to take the addresses on your list and put it on the postcards as well. So you don't even have to do anything. Like, you literally just build your list, build your website, choose a postcard template or upload one, and we're going to automatically send it to those addresses. Other than postcards, we have a ringless voicemail drop. So again, if you don't have the time to cold call, just record a message, come up with a caller ID or use your caller ID, and for 10 cents per successful drop, we can make up to 30 calls a minute for you. So you know
Dude,
those
that is
110
incredible.
cash buyers, we could call them all in 5 minutes and just kind of sit back and wait for that first phone call to call back in. And then last but not least, guys, we also have an email campaign for you. So all that data stuff that we went through in the first part, again, that's just scratching the surface. Obviously, you're going to spend most of your time there to make sure that it's worth the deal. But once you have your list created, the rest is just get their phone numbers and let's just start marketing to it, not waste any more of your time or their time. Let's just start getting those phone calls right away. So that is our product in a nutshell. Like, I know it's a lot, and that's why I'm really happy that you had us on here, Stephen, because we're all about that transparency. I rather show people this stuff. I rather give away the type of leads that you can find in our system. I'll show you the secret recipe on how to find cash buyers that you're not going to find in any other platform out there. Because guess what? You need the platform to do that, right? Again, that buyer thing is been a game changer for a lot of investors out there. I show them that method, and just like you, their jaws just drop. But guess what? You can't do it on any other platform but ours. So I hope you guys see the value in what we've been trying to do, me and Steven. I mean, we've discussed way before this video, way before we thought about doing this. Him and I have been talking about the application. Again, he's been very skeptical. I don't blame him. I'm the same way. But after talking to Steven and showing him what I just showed you guys, you now see why we've been, thankfully, and I'm gonna knock on wood, the talk on town right now. And I mean, and it's because of you guys. You guys have given us your insight. We see things from your point of view. We're not perfect, but you guys have really helped drive our business. And so if you guys have any questions, any recommendations, we don't hide from you. Go to the help tab. You have our email. You have our phone number. Give us a call. If you're lucky, you might even get a hold of me. I always dive in and talk to people on the phones as well. Love to help people out. So yeah, with that said, enjoy. And remember, guys, do not sign up on our website. Make sure to click on Steven's sign up link because he gives you a discounted price. If you go to our website, you're going to be paying full price. So don't do that. Go to Steven's link. You'll get a trial period. Plus, you'll get that script that he was talking about, which is very valuable. I mean, you're not going to find that anywhere. We don't even give you that stuff. And then it's $97 a month for unlimited searches and 10,000 properties that you can export from our system. So 5,000 buyers, 2,000 liens, 3,000 pre-foreclosures. I mean, it's the playground's all of the United States. So have fun with that. But thank you, Steven, again. I'm sorry for that long spiel, but I just wanted to,
you're fine, Bert.
tell people how thankful we are.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And you can, if you want, man, just unshare your screen real quick, and then I think it'll zoom the video out just a little bit. There we go. So yes, and stick with me for a second here, Burton. I just want to close this out, and I appreciate if you guys have watched this video all the way through. I think there's a reason for that. There's a reason that you're watching this. And so what I'm going to do in the link of this video, or in the description of this video, I'm going to put the link that allows you to go get a free trial of this, because Burton and Propstream and Sean and all the awesome guys and gals at Propstream, they want to put their money where their mouth is, or whatever the heck that saying is. They want you guys to try this out. I'm doing this with you guys, and I wanted to take you guys on the journey here so you can see what I'm about to do. And you only have to tell me once. And like I said, I was very skeptical in the beginning. Sean and some of the guys over at Propstream have been emailing me, sending me letters for a few months. And I'm like, what is this? Another tool? Yeah, there's a million tools out there. But I started to put two and two together, and I'm a believer in this now. I see the power in this. I don't just do endorsements, and I hope you guys didn't feel like this was some big sales presentation, because it's not. At the end of the day, it's a free trial, and then it's $97 a month. You can cancel anytime. The link is in the description where you can get that free trial. I was able to get a good price with Propstream for everybody who buys through that link. And then for those of you who stay on past that trial period, I'm going to hook you up with the special bonus of, once you have those targeted buyers, an hour-and-a-half video training of how to talk with them, and the two pieces of mail, that one is like a flyer and one is a little bit longer of a letter, but they're super, super cool, and it'll change how you market to buyers for your deals. And I'm gonna hook you guys up with that as a bonus. But real quick, Burton, before we go here, man, how long is the trial period? Is it 7 days, or
Yes.
what was that?
No, it's a 7-day trial period. You get pretty much access to everything. The only limitation that you'll get is that we give you just 50 properties to play with. So in the trial period, 7 days, again, you can do unlimited searches. You can build your list as you please to get an understanding of what your results are going to look like depending on your angle. But 50 properties is what you'll have to save. So 50 properties to skip trace, 50 properties to send postcards with. But once, again, you're a full subscriber, 10,000. 10,000 is your monthly limit.
All right, awesome. Well, guys, that is going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're new to my YouTube channel here, definitely, and if you got value out of this video, here's what I want you to do. Number one, I want you to go to the comments and thank Burton. He took time out of his day to do this webinar, to do this video, whatever you call it. So let's leave Burton some love in the comments. Smash the like button. And then if you're curious, go browse some other videos here on the channel. Make sure to subscribe, hit the little notification bell so you can see when I have new weekly content available. And if you're interested in a couple of other trainings that I do, some free gifts, go over to my website, Stephen Howell Mentoring. You'll find it in the description.com. Subscribe there. I have a weekly newsletter. I email you some really valuable tips a couple times a week. And then I have some cool stuff prepared for you. And then if you really want you'll have an opportunity to hop on a phone call with me personally for 45 minutes where we kind of dive in deep on your business. So that's over at Stephen Howell Mentoring, but that's not to be confused with the link below. And anyways, guys, this is a very, very powerful tool. So I hope this resonated with you. But regardless of that, regardless of this tool, I should say, you have to have the drive and the motivation. So this is not going to be a magical pill. You have to have the drive, the motivation. But guys, this is awesome, and I'm super pumped. So I hope you guys like this video. I'll see you in the next one, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.